Thank you, Cornelia. I hope everybody can hear me. Hi, like super honored to be on the stage of Women Tech Makers again. It has a very special meaning for me. And without further ado, I will just introduce the speakers, the panelists who will also be sharing a really good chat with me today. I think we're seeing them one by one come on stage. This is great. This is like a virtual stage. Yay! So,
Hi.
hi. Here with me today, we have Marianne Bint from CloudSight and Susanne Wolf from Capgemini, Mike Hanfi from Semantic Web Company. But before we go into, like, let's say the company stuff, I just wanted to get a personal intro from all of you. So maybe we could spend, let's say, the first 10 minutes in terms of doing, let's say, really like a personal intro. Let's spend maybe like 2-3 minutes per person. So please introduce yourselves but also answer the question, please, to what actually made you personally become interested in this topic of diversity? What was that thing that sort of brought you into this actually really important topic? And how has it been for you within the past few months of Corona in terms of work-life balance? So who wants to start? I would say Mahek.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mehek. I'm at the moment leading the development team at Semantic Web Company. And I'm also one of the main organizers for Women Tech Makers today. So hi, and I hope you're all enjoying the event. My journey for diversity is actually, I'm originally from Pakistan and I moved to Vienna 4 years ago. And for me, diversity is not only about being a woman, but it's about more other things that, this different background, different life experiences, different in our ethnicity, nationality, so many things that include that. And when I moved to Vienna, that was actually the thing that I noticed, and I feel like, okay. And then when I found Women Tech Makers Vienna, I felt like, okay, I'm not the only one that's actually feeling that. There are so many other people around me that have the same feeling. And yeah, that's how I joined it, and that's what diversity means to me in that regard. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Nice meeting you, Mahek. And Marianne?
Hi, thanks, Kathleen. Can you hear me? I hope it
Yes.
works today. It is a pleasure to be here, and thanks for your question. Actually, I am Marianne. I am working at CloudFlight in the content marketing team, but I am also in a very close cooperation with the people operations team, which is a very special setup because I really didn't experience it earlier at other companies, to be honest, and I enjoy it a lot. Why is this topic personally important to me? Well, I'm also a stranger, so to say. I've been living in Vienna for 10 years, but I am originally from Hungary. So yes, I am a woman, actually in an IT company. I studied art though, so it is also one additional aspect. And I'm working in a company where the average age is 29, and I'm a bit older, and I also have family so I have 2 kids, which is not so common among our colleagues. So I have lots of arguments, actually. Of course, I am a woman. So diversity as a topic is really very, very valid for me personally as well. But I am so lucky that I can work in a company where the topic is really a value and a valid topic too, not only for me.
Perfect. Great to hear. Susie, I know that you go by Susie, right? Not Susanne. That's too official.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Hi, everyone.
Right.
My name is Susanne Wolf. Call me Susie. And I've been working as a managing consulting and certified business coach on digital transformation projects for almost 20 years. Now I have the focus on leadership and virtual collaboration. And the new now, well, thanks to the Corona crisis, we have a new now, and I think this will stay. So we have to think about it. And well, I support my clients actually in identify opportunities for contemporary leadership models and roles. And After almost 20 years in consulting, since last year, I've been leading only women team for the first time in people and organization. Well, that's the practice I work now. We are almost, I think we from 60 people, we have 5 men, 6, well, maximum.
Wow.
So this is completely new. You know, I work in IT, so never experienced that. And that's when I started to actually think about diversity, like, okay, this is nice having women around me, because I was not used to it. So this was new. And during the last month, with the crisis, I've published a couple of articles on virtual leadership and collaboration, digital leadership roles, and female leadership identity. Because, you know, I've been thinking, and this is nice. That's a good topic. And well, after having visited the Women Tech Makers in 2018 and 19, I'm very happy that I've been asked to actively participate today. And yeah, here we go.
Perfect. Perfect. No, really nice meeting all of you. And I think this is maybe one of the great, let's say, aspects of having these virtual panel talks, because it really just feels like we are having a meeting, right? An everyday Zoom meeting or whatever you know platform you use. And so actually it feels a lot more intimate. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to, you know, first of all, start with some individual questions. So I'll just ask one question per each person, but then afterwards it's going to be like a wild ride. So like if I ask a question after that, you know, we can all just jump in and then debate, or you can just, you know, like whoever wants to answer it can answer and stuff like that. But so before we go into the wild, wild west, to get ourselves a bit more warmed up, I prepared maybe like one question per each person. For instance, Mahek. So you have you're yourself a software engineer, right? And you've been working in diverse tech companies, IT companies. And I think the feeling that I am getting these days is that, you know, the topic of diversity has been, let's say, a hot topic for, let's say, quite some time now. And I think I can also myself start seeing some changes, especially in terms of, you know, companies. But how is it actually for you working as a software engineer? Are you feeling some sort of a change or some sort of an improvement? How has it been? Is it getting easier being a woman who's advocating diversity in tech? Yes. In what ways? If not, where are we standing?
I will actually start with the how the journey started, because it's a long time. And I remember when I started one of the first job, I was the only female developer in the team, actually. So there were like 7, 8 guys, and I was the only developer. And I remember entering the room every day, and everyone is wearing like black t-shirts. So everyone was like looking the same, and it was like, I was wearing dress sometimes because I like to dress up or skirt or whatever. And once, and then I think after like joining the company after like 3 months or something, we have a company dinner, and I was so excited. Okay, it's the first company event, and I'm gonna, you know, wear a nice dress and everything, and everyone is gonna be, you know, look nice and all. And it was the same actually. I entered the room, and everyone was in the black t-shirt basically, and I was like, yeah. And there I felt like, you know, it's good that I'm the developer there, but this feeling of being yourself and this feeling that do I belong there was actually kind of missing there. It was actually like around 5, 6 years ago. But then I also worked in a team which was like 50% female ratio, 50% male ratio. And that was, I have said it well, that was like super amazing experience actually, because it was a quite nice balance and we were working all together, and it's a different atmosphere that basically says that. Yeah, and regarding that, you already mentioned that now it's a hot topic and there's so much awareness already going on, so that's good. But there are still a lot of things that are still needed to be said loud and talked about, like, for example, pay gaps, for example. We all know that, and I think that this should be talked more about.
I think that's a really great point. And building on that, Marianne, so you also mentioned that you have 2 kids and you're my role model. Yeah. And I'm sure you hear this a lot and very often, you know, like, especially in the startup scene, you know, it tends to be very young people focused, and a lot of the diversity, let's say, thought is also maybe let's say, more or less on, okay, how do we increase the gender quota, so the female quota, but how do you feel is the current status in terms of, let's say, consideration for females who are also actually not just females, but also employees with families? And what are your personal tips for people with families to survive in this startup world?
Especially during COVID, right? Yeah. Thanks.
Even more so.
Yes. Thanks for asking it. Actually, I don't know whether I have good tips, but I will try to do my best. So I can talk about the situation at Cloudflight. Actually, now as mentioned, it is not so common to have children here, but I'm not the only one who has. And what I experienced when we were all allowed to meet with each other after the first shock during Corona, I would say, then I had a really very interesting conversation, not only with mothers, but also with fathers about family and work. And what I learned that the company really did its best to support us. I have to say, me personally too. So I was asked lots of several times if I need more time for my family, if I need more possibility to be absent and doing fewer things or smaller tasks, and this empathy, what you can learn nowadays, it is crucial. And my tips to have harmonious life, work and life, harmony between work and life. I just emphasize it because, for example, it is also a very interesting thing in our company that we don't use work-life balance as a term, but we have another one, which is actually work-life harmony, or more precisely, we have our values as actions, not as nouns. That's why our value in this regard sounds we synergize work and life, for example. And so my tip regarding synergize and harmony, yes, you should take care of yourself and take a look at you always, and don't work a lot and be with your family. But if you need that, that you can feel that you are useful and your energy is from your work, and you can be empowered thanks to your work, then please do that. And you will find your harmony that way, I am sure. So actually it is very nice that it is possible here.
That's really,
it is a real challenge, a huge challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, the keywords of like harmony and empathy for that harmony is definitely really, really important, because I work for Accenture. This is also an IT consulting company. And one of my colleagues, he just became Papa. And I think I read one of the best, let's say, email footers that I've ever read in his email, because I got an email from him at I don't know, midnight. Yeah. And then of course you're like, whatever. And then you scroll down, and then there, right at the bottom, he wrote, because of my family situation right now, circumstances right now, I write and respond to emails at a time that's convenient for me. However, this does not mean that I expect you to also write back immediately. Please take the time, and please understand that I also understand that you will respond back to me at a time that's convenient for you, right? And I think that's amazing. So that's literally, okay, for me, this work-life harmony works in this way. I like to answer emails while I'm trying to make the baby go to sleep at 2 a.m. in the morning, but that's what works for me. It shouldn't be what works for you. And you should understand that I don't expect that, right?
Absolutely,
yeah. So Susie, before we go to the Wild Wild West, one question for you, because you also mentioned that you worked a lot about, let's say leadership. So how do you think that a leadership position doing that part-time is possible?
That's an extremely nice question, because at the moment I'm working on reducing my own work to 70%, and I'll lead a team of 10. So it should be possible, because I really want to do that. You often hear, especially in bigger companies, okay, in a leadership position, you can't do that. You need to be there every day, every time. And I think this is rubbish. Like you said, with this work-life harmony works for me. And I think reducing my time to 70% gives me 1.5 days per week to do something for me. And I feel after 20 years of consulting, I need this. I want this. If I do something, I do it 150%. And I'm there. But I want to have some time for myself, because without a baby, I'm still answering emails. 24/7. You probably know that. And, getting some rest, some serenity even for myself will help my team to be better, to be calmer, because if I stress, they are stressed. So I think a leadership position shouldn't be about the time, it should be about how you care. And if you organize things, then you can do everything you want. It's about organization and, of course, communication. That people should know. Now, if it's urgent, call me. If you write an email, I'll answer on Tuesday, because I'm not there on Monday. And if you make that transparent, this will work. But ask me in a couple of months again, so I'll tell you if it will work.
No, but that's really perfect, because I think that's, it's not that work-life balance is important only for people with, with kids, for instance. I think it's important for everybody, and also especially for women, because I think all of us women have a tendency to, feel the pressure to be like really perfect in every single way, right? And we want to be really good multitaskers. We want to really do this balance thing and do this well and do that well as well and do this well as well. And as a result, we tend to really overstress ourselves. And when that's, actually going on and on, and you're in that and you stop thinking about it, that's actually not really healthy for you as a long term as well. So you have to think about harmony for yourself and also have empathy for yourself as well, I think. So I think we can now move on to maybe some questions that we have for the general, for all three of us, or all four of us. Maybe because I keep thinking that even in my own company, I see that there is a lot of diversity measures being taken, right? And they are increasing. Can any one of you maybe tell me has there been anything that's been very, let's say, noteful, something that you would like to take note of and highlight, so that other companies could also benchmark from it? Or can you maybe share with us some sort of a yeah, they're doing this, or I've seen this being done, but I think this should be done in a different way. Let's share, let's say, examples of diversity measures in companies, good or bad cases.
I can start with something. I'm not sure if it's really remarkable or not, but from last few months, we are doing a lot of hirings, and there was a point when we noticed that, okay, we are not getting enough applicants that we are looking for, or especially the female or more diverse applicants. And we put the effort there, and we really looked at our job ads, and that's something like, okay, these are the words that are too intense and that will not attract certain type of audience and things like that. So I would actually personally really appreciate that there are thinking towards, even if you're not part of the company, job ad is the first thing that's your introduction to the company, actually. Yeah.
Marion, do you have anything that you could share with us?
Yes. I considered with which I should start. Actually, I can remember when I started here, we were as a company in the middle of a rebranding process. So we became one brand, one family, but there were actually two different companies previously, one in Austria and another one in Germany. Not a very different culture, but not so similar, though it was a big issue and a big challenge actually, also communication wise and also with the values and the employer branding processes. And I was in a very lucky position to be able to lead some workshops for in order to have our values, the new values. And after this session, we had actually the values we have now. There is the diversity one, or about the diversity, one of the 6 values actually. And it is also an action, not only diversity and inclusion, but we have safe and diverse space. Actually, it is the value very shortly. And in these times, we had a management board of 10 or 11 people, consist only of men. You know, it is a fact, and it is a big thing where we should have contracted as a company. And it was actually last summer or last autumn, I would say, so September 2019. And today, August 2020, we have actually already 12% women of the management. I think it was a long way and the hard issue, but we made it. And I don't say that it is perfect, but I also can experience here in the company during this rebranding and during this new way what we have now, that the company really encourage women also to take part of leadership, but not the highest level, for example. Also being team lead or being location lead. We have lots of offices in Europe, and luckily it is a very, very new news. Actually, we have a colleague who is a part-timer, who has a kid, and she is very, very motivated and engaged, and she could have a leader position. She is a co-lead for a segment at the company, and she is very, very happy with it. You know, I think these steps are the first and the most important ones, and you as a company can support your employees, the colleagues, and the colleagues will be engaged and very motivated. It is a win-win situation, and diversity inclusion is about win-win. It is.
But I mean, like, I think that sounds really great, but I'm like really curious, how did that start, right? Because, you know, it has to start at some point. And I think I'm sure in a lot of in our audience are people who are like, you know, there may be like the one woman in a startup, or they work for a really huge company and they feel that this topic is very important. They want to start it. How can they start it? Is it even possible to start, you know, like diversity measures from like grassroots, from bottom up?
You can. We have and had a colleague. It is also a very nice thing, and also luck a bit, because she is also very motivated and is with us for years. And she became a role model in the company. She is a speaker, and she is not a support position, so she is not a woman who is responsible for HR or for marketing or employer branding like me, for example. She's a developer, you know. So she is really a speaker at conferences, and her topics are especially bias in AI. So actually, it is a very important first step that you have to have a role model somewhere in the company, and you as a woman then can be sure that yes, I can also try and do it after her. And actually, it happened in our company. After that, it was also clear for the men colleagues that it is really matters if we have female colleagues in the management or female colleagues in several leader positions, for example. So it is not about only women. You can do it together with men.
Exactly. I think I totally agree with that. That it's really like leading by example, actually. That your as you present yourself as a role model. For example, where I was working, I have a woman tech lead. So she was actually tech lead, and she gave me a lot of confidence to actually, that you can do it. And then she was actually leading by example, and that empowered me to be actually do something out of my comfort zone.
What are some of the things that she actually did in terms of leading by example? Could you share some examples of the leading by example?
Yeah, for example, like it's a nice example. Yeah. Like really by empowering you, first of all, like showing you the ways and paths that, okay, it's more about, I think, really about empowering, actually.
So empowering, let's say, other female colleagues as well.
Exactly. And confidence and giving this safety around it, that, this psychological safety that you felt belong and you felt like you're always heard, actually, and your ideas are always appreciated.
Exactly, because I think that is, of course, like a very, very important factor, right? This thought of female solidarity, of us, like, like I think it was like, let's say 20, 30 years ago, it was very, very often that if you were like, let's say one of the two females in a company, then you thought like, oh my God, I'm going to like go over that person so that I can be the token woman. That time has completely passed, and thank God. And I think that's one of the very, let's say, strong misconceptions that some of the men still do have in terms of female colleagues, having female colleagues. And I think we should, by showing, like really show that that is not the case anymore. We're like now used to actually empowering our female colleagues. And through that, there comes even more colleagues in, and it creates a great environment for everybody. And through that, everybody sort of feels, let's say, the advantages of diversity.
And you know what? Being transparent about it and communicate it well also inside the company. For example, we have an initiative within the company which called Present Your Project. We are an individual IT company. Actually, we have individual projects. And we have project leads, and sometimes the leads or the contributors, the colleagues, present their projects. And it is now a new initiative during the summer, also connected somehow these COVID times, that we also present our private projects, because the people are also very active, of course, in their private life, free time. So we have also the opportunity.
Susie's back. Susie's back. Sorry, Marianne. Sorry.
Power failure in the village. I'm really sorry.
You had a power outage in your village, yeah. Okay, so we were in the middle of, yeah.
Just very shortly, thanks to these private projects, we could also learn more about our colleagues who organize the meetup in Linz, for example, for female coders. It is also empowering women, although you do it in your private life and time, but it's also very important to know about it, and it is only possible if you communicate it and spread the word, not only externally, because we are very strong on social media and somewhere everywhere, but it is crucial to have the information also within the company.
I mean, like, so Susie, we've been talking about, let's say, like, really like showing by doing and inspiring by doing as females already in these organizations. And Mahek gave us a very good example about how she had sort of like a mentor figure who was a female colleague, and she really showed by doing, and she really really enabled and empowered Mahek as well, and that also inspired her. But then I have a question regarding, so what is it for, let's say, let's say the older you get, yeah, you know, like it tends to be that you have more and more things that are piling on your plate. You have a lot more responsibility to take care of, maybe even as a leader in the organization, but also within your family and such. And then you start to really feel like, yeah, but I would really like to somehow reshift my priorities and also, let's say, reduce my time, for example, like you, Susie. And it can very often be used against you, right, as a woman. And a lot of male colleagues would say, and I have heard this very often, well, now you're using the woman card, and now you know, you just don't want to work as much as we do anymore. And how can we make you like the lead, or how can you become like the example that everybody would be inspired from? How should women in this, let's say, later stages of life also, let's say, more actively or more effectively become role models? And how can we, let's say, counter these, let's say, not so intelligent arguments that a lot of colleagues tend to have?
If I may answer, because you know the former what all the colleagues you refer to me probably. So well, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, as a coach, I encourage my coachees always to ask two questions: who are you, and what do you really want? And if you can answer those two questions, nobody can beat you. You know, you're powerful, and it's like magic. And you know, with the silly ideas like you don't want to work, you're just a woman. For 20 years, I've been trying to be the toughest, the strongest, the fittest, and the meanest leader in an IT world, and it didn't do me well good. You know, in the end, I got fired because I was too tough. You know, and they were frightened of me, so they tried to get rid of me, and yeah, well, they managed. So now in this.
My God, yeah. No,
It
like
costs them, but
I've
still,
also
you
had the
know.
same. Yeah, yeah.
But
Their
still,
loss.
now for the first time, I can work like I really am, and you know what like I really want to be, and I'm not afraid anymore. So if I want to work or do less hours in consulting, that doesn't mean I don't work, because I have 7 horses and 2 dogs, 5 cats, and a house. So you know, I do something. I'm a potter. I'm an artist, so I do something for me. And I think this is extremely important, that you know what is good for you, and that you keep this in mind. And as leaders, it is our first task, and the most important task, in my opinion, that you encourage people, and not only women, everyone, to be what they really and who they really want to be. And then, you know, they bring out the best of them, and then can, you know, that they can, yeah, do magic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really great. I mean, like for Women of Vienna, we've also like yesterday had exactly this sort of like, let's say, talk where we said, so we've been thinking so much about what we need to do and what we need to do, and you know, and all of that tends to pile up. But then we also have to think about actually what we want to do. What is it that we want to do? And if we set that clear, then actually all the other stuff of the need that comes from external actually doesn't really matter anymore. You know, what you want to do is clear, then you have set your priorities, and then that's clear, and then you can have your argument for whichever other counter arguments that people who are trying to, let's say, undermine you, you can counter argue that, right? Yeah. How is it actually in terms of, let's say, like in bigger companies, do we have, let's say, any insights in terms of, or have any of you had any, let's say, experiences advising, let's say, bigger companies in terms of, okay, we now realize that we're not really ideal in terms of diversity. We now want to start. How should they set about it? Because the most common thing that you see is, okay, we set a goal of, I don't know, female rate, employee rate, 50%. That's it. How should that be a bit more improved?
Oh, you know, I'm not happy with rates and quotas now. You know, if you want to have a diverse team, hire one. You know, hire the skills and the strengths you want, hire the personalities you want, and don't think about, oh, I need to hire now a female Black from Hungary because, you know, this is in my quota. You know, diversity should be something natural, something like, you know, sorry about the lights. You know, it's still pitch black in here because
Oh my God.
because about the you know, hire a team. You know, combine strengths, and this should be natural. Well, I'm a stranger in Vienna, by the way, too, because I'm German, and I've been living in the Netherlands and in Australia, and, you know, working there is, I never feel not wanted. And this is, I think, the thing you start with. Make people wanted, make them feel welcome, you know, no matter how they look like or where they are from, you know, just who are they, what can they do to your team, how can they improve your team and make the team better. And if you think about it like that, I think diversity is like, okay, like normal, you know. It should be like that, of course, in a perfect world. But with all these programs, I'm not sure if you really get the best people for the job, because at the moment we are not allowed to hire women anymore because we have so many of them. And, you know, if there's no suitable man, what should I do? Should I hire the second best? No?
Yes, I totally agree with you, Susie. Actually, you cannot organize or prepare yourself in the recruiting session. What you can do, in my opinion, to motivate your people inside in the house, actually, to be a team, to be a community. And if you, as a community, if you, as a company, can be a role model for the outside world, then it will be a natural process that actually others want to join you, because not only because of gender, because of all the factors what we already mentioned, also age-wise or culture or other things. Not only the gender. Gender is also very important, but it should be somehow natural. And I think it starts always in the house, not outside or out of the office.
Exactly. I think that you should first take care of what you have already inside. And if the people inside don't feel like it, they will never go for anything else, actually, not for diversity, not for anything. If they don't feel like that, okay, it's just my work and I'm coming here and I'm going back. But they don't feel any personal relation or like this connection or discomfort of being themselves, actually. If the internal is strong, it will automatically attract the externals.
But then that leads me to the next question, which is, you know, because I think that sounds really great, but I also see a danger in terms of, let's say, biases, right? Like unconscious biases that we all have, which usually are, let's say, the reason why, although you do think that you are trying to have a diverse team, you don't end up having one, or you do think that you want to recruit in a diverse way, but you actually end up having people who are like completely like you, because there's all these, let's say, selection biases that you select people who are more like you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious if there are any, let's say, successful examples of how you've seen these unconscious biases being, let's say, dealt with in your organizations or organizations that you've seen.
I have a short success story, actually, general about unconscious bias. During the COVID time, we were sure that we would like to live our values, not only written them on our website, but really literally live them. It is really hard to start with it if you are at the home office and you cannot meet the others. But regardless, we started and we decided that we dedicate 1 month for one value, and we will have the diversity value in December, and with a smaller team, not only with HR or marketing, but also with tech colleagues. We formed a team, a group, because we were sure that we would like to work on our unconscious bias. So we will organize workshop series for the company, 5 or 6 people together about this topic, and educate each other in order to be aware that yes, we all have unconscious bias, and I think it is the start. If you can start talk about it and communicate it, so it is our short success story. I'm very proud of the team and that they are very, very active. And unconscious bias is very, very important topic actually, general.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because I do think that in some cases, I do know that there's, let's say, pros and cons of having quotas, but the pros of having quotas is that it does somehow force, let's say, the ratio of diversity, and then that does help in terms of reducing the unconscious biases in the company, because you basically end up having a lot of interactions with, people that you haven't had interactions with. Cool. So now time has flown by, and now we have only 3 minutes left. Such a shame, because I would love to continue talking with all of you. Let's maybe end before we end. So please, maybe let's share, each one of you, let's say one tip that you would like to share with other female colleagues in tech. What was it that made you come to where you are right now? And what kind of advice would you give to you, let's say, 20 years ago or 10 years ago? Anyone?
I can start.
Okay, if I could talk to myself 20 years ago, I said, okay, stick to what you really want and don't be too tough, be nice. It works as well. You don't have to be as tough as you think, be yourself, and that's enough. Plenty of.
Yeah, just know what you want, or try to figure out what you want, and that's enough, right? And just work on that. And it can be that you want to do 100 things, that's also fine. It can be that you just want to do one thing, that's also fine. But when you know that what you want is there, then you can be like, I'm not going to care whatever other people say about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't care about the expectations you think others have.
Exactly. They don't have it anyway, right? Maybe your parents, my Asian parents. But anyway. Okay, great tip. Anyone else?
I think the important thing is, actually, I will emphasize on that part as well, that just be yourself, basically. So just don't lose your identity, that who you are and who basically made you yourself, actually. So keep your part with yourself. Always don't change yourself because of the things that are around you, actually. So just be yourself, and you will be
Awesome. Awesome.
Beautiful.
I would only have two keywords, actually, empathy or emotional intelligence and collaboration. So what I really believe in it is that you can be alone. You shouldn't do everything alone, and you will find your soulmates, teammates, your community. And it is also a bit about belonging, which was our first talk today. So these are my keywords, actually. And I think it is very important for me now, and also hopefully for later as well.
Amazing. I think especially the keyword empathy, I was going to also mention it if nobody mentioned it. Thank you so much, Marianne. I think we're so aligned and empathetic towards each other. It's an amazing panel. But seriously, me really knowing what I want and really, being sure of it, and then also having empathy, because we know that other women will also be like that, and actually also other men as well, then I think that really is the first step to having also a very empathetic organization. So with that, unfortunately, we would have to now close the panel. The time is here. Thank you really, really very, very much for participating in this panel. It was really great talking with all three of you. I hope we can stay friends and keep talking once in a while. It was very inspiring. And yeah, so hope to see you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you, Kathleen. Thank all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was great
you.
meeting you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.